Hello and welcome to IELTS writing section. In this series of lectures, we are going to learn about IELTS writing task 1 on general training, that is letter writing. In this series of lectures, you will learn about how to write a letter efficiently. But first, we must learn about the IELTS writing section. Irrespective of the fact whether you are appearing for IELTS general training or academic, you will have to face writing task 1 and writing task 2. Writing task 1 for general training module is letter writing, whereas for academic module it is report writing. On the other hand, writing task 2 is always essay writing for both the modules. As shown in the table, IELTS writing task 1 demands that you write at least 150 words, whereas writing task 2 demands that you write a minimum of 250 words. As far as time is concerned, the total time for writing section is 60 minutes. It is advised by IELTS that you spend 20 minutes on writing task 1 and about 40 minutes on writing task 2. Understand, it is not compulsory that you spend exactly 20 minutes on task 1 and 40 minutes on task 2. It is just a suggestion by IELTS. On the exam day, you are not allowed to carry your wristwatch or mobile phone in the exam hall. So the question is, how will you keep track of time? The only way to keep track of time is this digital countdown on the screen. This countdown will go from 60 minutes to 0. IELTS examiner will not warn or suggest you to switch the writing task after 20 minutes. It is your responsibility. In fact, in the examination hall, you will receive question and answer sheets for both writing tasks together. You may choose to write either of the tasks first. That is, you may choose to write the first task initially or even the second one. It doesn't matter. All that matters for the invigilator is that you complete the writing section in 60 minutes. In this chapter, you are going to learn about how to read the writing task 1. It seems a bit odd, I know. You're thinking that can't I even read task? The thing is, most of the students commit the mistakes in understanding the task. So we will try to understand what precautions you should take while reading the task. Then we will discuss about writing a letter. Here we will compare how most of you wrote a letter in the schools and how they expect on IELTS. Then we will talk about how are letters evaluated on IELTS. And lastly, I will explain how you will learn about the steps in which I will teach you about writing task 1 in general training. Let's begin with how to read the letter writing task. At the beginning of the task, you will always read a suggestion that you should spend about 20 minutes on the task. After that, you will read a situation. In this case, the situation is you and your family are moving to another country and you are looking for a rented accommodation there. Then you will see an addressee. In this case, you are asked, write a letter to a property agent, and then you will read 3 instructions. In this case, the instructions are: introduce yourself and your family, describe the type of accommodation that you hope to find, and lastly, give your preferences for location and accommodation. These 3 instructions are always going to change for each task. The last but not the least, you will read, write at least 150 words. You do not need to write any address, and then begin your letter as follows: Dear Sir or Madam. You will realize that the situation is nothing but the circumstances under which you are writing the letter. The situation is that you are moving to another country with your family. Now, of course, you can always decide which country and city you wish to mention unless specifically given to you. After reading the situation, you will always read the addressee in simple words, a person who is going to read the letter. The three instructions mentioned after mentioning the situation and the addressee are in a way very essential. IELTS reader or examiner will be checking whether you have followed these three instructions or not. Then, instruction 4 always asks you to write a minimum of 150 words, whereas instruction 5 demands that you must begin the letter in a specific way. See, for most of the letters, these two instructions will never change. However, the instruction on how to begin the letter may differ from task to task, and hence you must pay attention to the fifth instruction for sure. Now let's compare letter writing in school exams and one that is expected on IELTS. If you remember, you wrote a letter in school that started with a date followed by the intended reader. You included the designation and even the organization of the addressee. Then you would mention the subject of the letter and the reference of any previous correspondence. After mentioning all these things, you would start the actual letter. Even after signing off in the end with your name on the letter, you would mention if anything was attached in the letter. However, when it comes to IELTS, the examiner is not concerned about the date, the designation, or the reference, and even the attachment. The IELTS reader is more worried about the main letter. In other words, he or she is concerned with the way you would communicate with others through a letter or even for that matter an email. Now after understanding all these details, let's try to understand the preferred structure of the letter. In our experience, a letter that contains approximately 170 words can get maximum credit. The overall structure of the letter is the introduction paragraph, the body paragraphs, and the end paragraph. Introduction of the letter has about 30 words, and it helps us, or in this case you, to set the tone of the letter. The body paragraphs are used to address three main instructions of the letter. Lastly, the end paragraph consists of a request, if any, future contact, and a thank you. It consists of another 30 words. As we progress further, I'll explain in detail how to write request and future contact. However, the important question is where to write a letter. The IELTS shall provide you with a writing answer sheet which looks very similar to the one shown on your screen. If your handwriting is quite regular, that is, you can write about 8 words in one line, this answer sheet would be enough for you. In case needed, you can ask for a supplementary sheet in the examination. Before we go further, let's tackle some frequently asked questions by students. The first one is, how many words should I write? I have partially answered this question a few minutes ago. Still, I would touch upon additional points over here. You should aim to write about 170 words in this letter. A letter with lesser number of words might not be able to sufficiently explain the views, whereas letter with more than 200 words might be too lengthy to finish in the given time. The next question is, do they really count articles like a, an, the? The straightforward answer is yes, they count anything that contributes to the meaning of a sentence. And lastly, the question that students ask is, how are my letters scored? Now this part is discussed in two separate stages. Initially, we will try to understand the important aspects of the evaluation criteria in this chapter itself. Yet, the last chapter deals with evaluation criteria in details and with examples. Having dealt with frequently asked questions, let's try to understand how your letter is scored in brief. At the bottom of the answer sheet, you will find some of the boxes which are used by examiners to evaluate your letters. These boxes belong to certain important aspects or criteria. Let's understand these one by one. Important evaluation criteria that you will see in these boxes are task achievement, that is TA, coherence and cohesion, that is CC, and lexical resource, that is LR. And lastly, grammatical range and accuracy, that is GRA. We will explore these one by one. First, let's look at task achievement. IELTS will give you full scores in this criteria if your letter has at least 150 words with fully developed reasoning to back your position. Additionally, the letter should not have any repetition of ideas. And lastly, a suitable tone of the letter is an essential element of your writing. If you fail to add any of these components, you won't be able to score well on task achievement, that is TA. Evaluation criteria, coherence and cohesion, deals with the overall structure of the letter. Coherence asks for clear ideas which are organized logically. It simply means that the ideas which help you to explain your points must leave no ambiguity in the reader's mind. At the same time, cohesion deals with the appropriate usage of cohesive devices and checks whether the letter has a clear-cut representation of instructions in the paragraphs. In short, if your letter contains well-developed ideas organized in appropriate paragraphs, you can score very well on coherence and cohesion. The third criteria is lexical resource. The reader or evaluator checks whether you have used a range of words without compromising the meaning of the sentence. And so you must use all the words with precision. The examiner will also be impressed if you could use typical phrases and collocations used by the native speakers. Lastly, he or she will also look for spelling mistakes. Yet, keep in mind, IELTS will ignore a few minor spelling mistakes which actually don't change the meaning of the sentence. The fourth evaluation criterion is grammatical range and accuracy. According to the norm, you should be able to use tenses appropriately. The IELTS examiner would be very happy to see a variety of sentence structures which are used accurately. Lastly, your writing must also have appropriate punctuations without any mistakes. Apart from the criteria we discussed just now, there are a few additional things which IELTS examiner will look for. The evaluator must count the number of words in the letter and ensure that 150 words are written. If they fall short, you will be penalized. Also, before submitting your paper, check whether the letter is not off topic. Your bands would be deducted if you don't stick to the given topic. And if your response seems to be memorized or copied, you stand to lose a lot. In the end, if your handwriting is not readable, or in other words, legible, your bands will be affected for sure. Remember, you will not get any extra credit for clean handwriting or good handwriting, just the way you might have got when you were in school. In summary, we have looked through the basics of writing task 1. You have understood that situation, addressee, and 3 instructions are quite essential to understand the scope of the letter. And there are 4 important evaluation criteria: task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy.